Bruce, it's Matt Wilson. It's great seeing you again.
Good to see you too, Matt. How are you?
Good, very well. Thank you.
Happy New Year,
Yeah.
by the way, sir.
Oh, Happy New Year, you too. I hope you're
Thank you.
doing well, especially in 2023.
Yeah, all going well. All going well.
Excellent. So, as you know, I'm the president and owner of Special Operations Contingent Group, or SOCG. I do safety and security training based on my 26 plus years in the U.S. Army Special Operations training. I specialize in training our military in a special skill sets such as clandestine breaching and exothermic hard target defeat. The corporate side, we deal a lot with vulnerability assessments. Civilians, we do a lot of training within this women's safety classes, focused on personal situation awareness, travel safety, and sports and abroad. So, what I guess my first question for you is, what does personal safety mean to you within that realm?
Personal safety means everything to me. Pardon me. And when the times when I've taught self-defense, I always tell everybody that the first thing to know is observation to avoid the situation.
Excellent.
When I walk into a restaurant, when I walk into a room, through the training I've had from my dad as a young man, because he saw a lot of the ugly side of the world, as I did too at times growing up, I know exactly where the exits are. I sit with my back to a wall, facing outward. It's just my standard reaction, because you never know when the you know what can hit the fan in this day and life that we live in. And aside from personal safety, we have to take as far as whether it's being COVID conscious or being security conscious. Um, but it's very important to know everything that's going on around you. Don't take things for granted, because no matter how successful you are, no matter how happy you are, no matter how wonderful life is, it can change in a second. And a lot of that can
Exactly.
be is if you let your, I don't mean to be paranoid, I'm not paranoid, but if you let your guard down, you know, your personal safety guard down. So always need to keep it up. It's the world in which we live.
I think that's more safety conscious than it is, being paranoid. I don't consider it paranoid. And also, it's everything you spoke of is especially in the women's safety class that we teach for our young females that train in sports, that travel abroad, any of that. You gave a perfect example. One of the examples I give, like when I walk into the restaurant, I don't go straight up to the host. I stop. I scan from left to right. Look for my ingress egress routes. I look for, from left to right, identify threat friendly, and then looking for where I can sit. So you stole my thunder for all my class, which is amazing. So that's good. So I appreciate that. That's good. I want to make sure I'm on the right track.
It sounds
So
like we are. Thank you.
exactly. So now, being a high profile person, all that, you do a lot of traveling and all that. Without getting in too much detail, um, what type of safety measures do you take when you travel?
Well, in this day and age, pardon me, I'm actually just getting over COVID.
Oh, okay. I hope
My
you're
sec,
feeling better.
I am my second bout with it. So
Okay.
any, anyway, that's why I say be careful out there. Uh,
Yes.
Traveling safety measures I take when I'm traveling. Is that what you said?
Yes. Yes, sir.
I love wearing nice watches, Rolex, the whole bit. And in this day and age, people are getting knocked out over the head, shot, or what for the Rolexes. I go to Brazil next week for a trip. The last thing I'll do is wear the watch. You land at the airport in a foreign country. They have spotters there to look for you getting off the planes. They'll
Yeah.
follow you. You'll get in the taxi, and the motorcycle will come up, tap a Glock on the window, give me the Rolex, right?
Yeah.
God forbid something worse. So I always keep my eyes, ears open. When I'm traveling, we have security in the UFC where I'm traveling with them.
Mhm.
So there's definitely security in the hotels. But again, I'm not a big fan of the word celebrity, but let's call it being a public figure. I think the word celebrity is overused these days, and it doesn't really apply to a lot of people that consider themselves celebrities. I think celebrities are
Yeah.
people that are based on talent and achievement, and that doesn't seem to be the way to get popular these days. It's an
Yeah.
Instagram achievement. With all respect and no offense to anybody on
No,
Instagram,
not taken.
but um, people are always looking for the easy way to get money, the easy way to get this, the easy way to get that.
Yeah.
So you just got to be conscious. Again, we get back to the same thing. Travel wise, I'm not looking over my shoulder, but I'm observing everywhere I go. Am I being followed? Is there somebody that's acting weird around me? I mean, you just got to certain cities. Again, we get into Brazil, you stay away from the favela areas. When you go to other countries, you got to know where to walk, where it's safe, everything else. So I do my pre-planning, and the UFC is very good at letting us know about certain things in the different cities we go to, where to go to, not to go to, the safety factors. Again,
Cut out there. Seem to, I don't know. Bruce, I lost you at a point here. Oh, there you are. Yeah, it froze up on you a little bit. That's okay.
I don't know where I stopped talking or whatever.
No, you were just well, it kind of froze up on there. But one of the points you brought up was the pre-planning and all that. When you do a lot of travel, you don't have to get into too much detail again. If you have any type of executive protection or somebody goes with you, are you part of that pre-planning, or do you just let someone else do that for you?
If that's being done, my client does it for me. If I think that I need it for myself, which is not that often, I will take care of it myself. But again, I try to avoid going into any areas that are really bad areas for me to go into.
Right.
So I turn down jobs in certain places
Oh,
that I
okay.
won't go to.
Gotcha.
So that's being conscious of what's right and what's wrong for what I'm doing.
I like
It's not
that.
often.
Yeah.
It's not often, but there's a couple of places I've turned down. I'd rather not say what they are because I don't want to insult
No,
anybody.
I'm not even going to ask. Would not ask about that. So now, talking sports and all that. So I have an all-female athletic team that I sponsor and all that, Team SOCG, and they travel extensively. They train alone often, especially in rugged areas, mountain trails and everything else. Coming from a martial arts background and you're very security conscious and all that, what type of self-defense do you think would you recommend for any of the females out there doing the obstacle course racing, the ultra distance and everything else, to give them, like, again, the confidence, and the skill sets to be able to help themselves out of the situation?
Well, one of the biggest things for a woman is when a man puts his hands on her, right? I
Right.
don't mean hits her, God forbid, and that's included too, but puts their hands on her. So you need to know how to react when somebody puts their hands on you. Now, kickboxing and boxing is great for striking and all, but I don't recommend a woman gets in a fisticuff fight with a male.
No, not at all.
Okay. So I think one of the best things would be to know how to handle yourself if you're touched or you're crowded or whatever. And for that, jujitsu is a great training art for any woman.
Exactly. Very good.
And if somebody grabs you from behind, if somebody grabs you from the front, if they make obviously touch you in the wrong spot, you need to know how to react, right? And it's not about getting into a Angelina Jolie salt fist fight. That's the movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reality is you don't want to go there at all, but you want to be able to subdue or be able to halt the assault from the attacker. And I think jujitsu is one of the best training possibilities for that for women.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. Coming from, I know that when I was in the 75th Ranger Regiment, the Gracies were coming up. We were doing a lot of jujitsu with them, their style, and I think it's a great knowing how to fight from the ground. Because the way I look at it, a lot of confrontations aren't just going to be stand up; they're going to end up on the ground. So I try to get that across to my clients on that.
Absolutely, because every street fight I've ever been involved in or fight on the beach or whatever, it always, unless you knock the guy out, it's always going to go to the ground.
Exactly.
So what do you do when you get on the ground? There's another art called Krav Maga. Where also is an excellent training for females also.
No, that's another one that I recommend too. So that's good. So on the same sheet there. Now, throughout all your travels, and I know you do a lot of traveling and all that. What are some of the travel, I guess you would say, the lessons learned along the way that if there were some pieces of advice you'd throw out there to some of the people who are getting out there, especially now that we're traveling a lot more than we have been in the past couple of years and all that, any pieces of advice for people that are traveling?
Well, no matter what big city you're in, big cities are big cities. So yeah, you like to walk the big cities, but walk on the populated streets. Don't walk on the unpopulated streets. Don't walk through the alleyways, right? Have an idea where you're at. Are you close to a crime-ridden area, right? Do a little research ahead of time. There's certain countries you go to, you need to be careful. I mean, England is a beautiful country, a wonderful country to explore and whatever. But at the same time, when you're in England, you don't want to go down side streets or in areas that are bad. When you're in Brazil, you don't want to go down side streets or in areas that are bad. They have crime even on Copacabana Beach, in the nicest area of the Brazil beach area. We had 2, 3, 4 years ago when we last went there. After a show, our personnel was on the beach, watching the sunrise, and 2 guys came down with guns, and this is in front of the finest hotels on the beach. And they robbed them at like 3, 4 in the morning of their passports and their cash, right?
Yeah.
Threatening to shoot them. It can happen anywhere at any time. So avoid dark areas, stay well-lit areas. I think all these basic rules apply to no matter where you're at. Right.
No, I completely agree with you on that too.
And if you're going to a foreign country, just Google, if you're going to wherever you're going, just put down the country and just Google, crime in Paris, crime in London, where to avoid.
Do all your analytics first before you go. Exactly.
Yeah, pre-prepare, as you should pre-prepare for anything.
Yep. Yeah. I also, another thing I always tell people too is 2 is 1, 1 is none. That goes for anything. If you're traveling overseas, 2 is 1, 1 is none. It's military.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. If you can travel and walk around in pairs, or groups or whatever, obviously the better. And if something happens, avoid it, don't entertain it, walk away from it.
And that comes down to situational awareness, being able to get your head out of your phone, engaging as in with your environment and all that, being aware, looking around, seeing what's happening in front of you, because everything that happens in front of you or around you is going to unfold and tell you what's going to happen. And you can avoid that, so, but a lot of people don't, because we have these phones that everybody has their face buried in.
Well, not the best thing to be walking down the street with your face buried in the phone, because you're going to walk into somebody. I mean, I had that happen to me in an airport when I was busy with my phone. I thought, this is stupid. I'm never going to do this again. I'll stop and I'll look at my phone. Okay.
Yeah. It's an evil necessity though. It is. So
it is.
Yeah. No, but, now let's see here. So I guess so we talked about walking into, restaurants or stores or anything else. That all comes down to, like a lot of vulnerability assessments, looking at something, observing, from the exterior all the way into the interior. Do they have the proper cameras, lighting, and everything else? Do you look at that also along your travels for like your hotels or places you're staying and all that?
I don't quite understand the question again. Do I look at
I was just, what I was looking at was vulnerability assessments. And, like when you go up to your hotel and all that, are you observing where the cameras are, the lights are?
Well, I always stay in well-lit areas. I always stay in well-lit areas, and you have to assume now, no matter where you're at, there's a camera.
Yeah.
Pretty much. No matter where you're at, there's a camera. Not that you're trying to hide anything, but just figure there's a camera. Right. Except in your room. Hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I was told when I last went to Russia that they have cameras everywhere, and just even in your room, be careful.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not, but it was told to me by a very in-depth security advisor, is all I can say.
Gotcha. Yeah. Gotcha. So very good. Let's see. Do you have, any type of, I guess, little pieces of advice for people wanting to get into, I guess you would say, self-defense? Because I train a lot of like right now I'm training some kids from Knoxville. They're going to school there. I'm over in Nashville, so I'm working with them on self-defense, everything from the fundamentals of fighting to actually knife fighting, because it's like they're carrying knives because there's a lot of homeless problems and everything else. So that's becoming that's really starting to become a problem now. A lot of the homeless, a lot of everything else intruding in on everybody's space and
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah. We have the same problem here in California. So your question is advice on self-defense?
Yeah, advice getting into it, as in, like, should you go for a stand-up and ground fighting, or should you go for armed, unarmed? What would you want if you had a younger you and coming up and all that?
Well, I'll get back to what I said before. I think the first thing to do is, before you even think about touching a weapon, is to make sure that you're a weapon, that you yourself can handle the situation. And in doing that, again, we get back to jujitsu or kickboxing, or a combination of the two in a form of mixed martial arts. So you have the self-confidence within yourself that you can deal with the situation. Now, the other thing is that violence, not many people can handle it. You can train and be a black belt, but when it comes down to it and you're face down in the street, a lot of black belts can freeze. They're not everybody's a true fighter or willing to do with that. It's up to you and your own mental, ability. But pick something that you're going to enjoy.
Correct.
Definitely have a good instructor that you enjoy training with, just like a good teacher you enjoy learning from. And if you can put those two together, then pleasurably you're going to go and train and learn self-defense and build your self-confidence and feel good about yourself all the way around. You don't want to get overly confident. You want to be realistically confident. I would say, I hope that everyone that trains never gets in a fight beyond a sparring session in a dojo, but at least hopefully is prepared that if God forbid it does come down to that, they'll have that much of a better chance of escaping it, hopefully unscathed and unharmed,
Yeah.
And that kind of confidence walking around is a great confidence, combined with the fact that when you see a situation, avoid it at all costs. Unless, of course, their hands are on you or touching your loved ones or, a horrific situation, then you have to deal with it as you have to deal with it. At that point, I would consider, okay, knife training and stuff. But one thing about a knife, if you're not trained well, it's going to probably be taken from you. And it's going to be used on you.
Yeah.
And
true. I mean, that goes with any type of weapon, actually.
Any type of weapon whatsoever.
Yeah.
So be very comfortable with it. Avoid using it at all costs, because in the end situation, if something happens, it's a lose-lose situation. You wind up, God forbid, getting arrested, sued civilly, whatever the case might be. There's so much more that can come out of a bad situation beyond getting hurt.
Yeah.
And when
that's why I teach de-escalation first before anything. I'm like, look, if anything happens, try to de-escalate the situation.
Try to de-escalate it
out there before anything.
Absolutely, without question.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing I get across to everybody on that.
That's the way police officers are trained. That's the way it's supposed to be, is to de-escalate the situation, not escalate it. We don't know. We love watching John Wick, but we don't have to be John Wick.
The movies. Yep, exactly. Yep. So, well, good. Well, Bruce, I appreciate, everything, getting some really good info from you, some good pieces of advice and all that. And again, I really look forward to, catching up with you again sometime in the future on this. So.
Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. I appreciate what you're doing for everybody too, because you're teaching some very valuable lessons, self-defense, confidence, everything goes with it. I believe everybody needs to take these lessons. I believe that kind of coaching from you is invaluable to the people that you're working with. I just ask that the people that are learning, as you already know, that they be aware of the situation around them, as we've discussed, and don't look to be a hero. Just look to be defensively protective.
Exactly. That's great advice. I like that. So yeah. Thank you, Bruce. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Happy New Year's. Stay safe.
Happy New Year too. And hey, I hope you have a really, really quick recovery and safe travels to you.
Appreciate it very much. I'll get through it as always.
You got it. All right, Bruce. Thank you now.
Bye-bye now.